Chess friends, what's up? Same night, we're drinking whiskey, we're playing chess. I'm going to show you guys tonight how I play a disguised Dutch. One of the benefits of disguising your Dutch, I should say, is that your opponent can't go into a lot of the anti-Dutch systems that are out there. You guys have all seen this if you're a Dutch player. If you advertise on move 1 against d4 that you're playing f5, that you're going to play a Dutch defense, you start running into e4, you start running into the queen coming out with tricks and checks and all sorts of fun stuff. And if you're like me, you hate playing against anti-Dutches the way that Sicilian players hate playing against anti-Sicilians. So one of the favorite ways that I have of disguising the Dutch is to make it look like you're going to play a French defense. And I got this idea from GM Simon Williams, Ginger GM, I think is his name. If you look him up on YouTube, he's great. He's a Dutch master. I bought his ebook called The Killer Dutch, and he's a big proponent of disguising his Dutch defense, which he's a master of, and people know that he's going to play the Dutch defense against them. But he also is known to play the French defense. Boo. I don't play the French defense as black. However, Simon does play the French defense, and he's quite good at it. I mean, he's a grandmaster. So he gives himself, rather than just advertising on move 1, f5, and this game is going to be very quick. We got a quick attack. But I really want to urge you guys, after playing the Dutch myself for probably the last year and a half to 2 years or so, I'm finding much better results disguising my Dutch with e6 rather than playing f5 straight away. In one of the very first example games in his book, Killer Dutch, Simon Williams gives this line right here, bishop to b4 check right away, and what we're really hoping for is what my opponent did in this game, knight to c3, so we can take and immediately stack his pawns and now go into our Dutch setup. This is beautiful because now our knight can jump to e4, putting pressure on this stacked doubled c3 pawn. And one of the things, I probably could have just castled here. One of the things in the Dutch that's 90+% of my games white plays against me is he just plays e3 and then bishop to either e2 or d3. As soon as you see e3 as a Dutch player, or in this case preemptively anticipating e3, you want to go ahead and play b6 and just fianchetto your bishop, because as soon as his bishop relinquishes control of the g2 pawn and this entire diagonal for us, that is a big win, a huge plus for us as Dutch players. We're not going to get into this game into all of the intricacies of c4, c5 pawn pushes, trying to damage the structure. I will get into that in some other games. But for now, my opponent does what we expect, and we get some normal developing moves here. Now, jumping the knight to e4, putting pressure on the pawn, comes with a tempo. He has to respond to this. And queen to c2 is the usual way. Now, next move is a move that Dutch players are going to be very familiar with, d6, planning on bringing the b knight over here and getting it into the battle to support here. White, of course, knows this is coming, so he moves the knight over. If you're a Dutch player, you really seriously want to consider just taking this knight, and one of the reasons that you take the knight is because he has to take with the queen, so it's forced. You immediately start bringing the knight over, and now as he starts to realize that he has to fight for control of the e4 square, how many openings, first of all, does white have to fight for control of the e4 square? Normally he just plays e4, and it's his. Here we are, we're on move 13, and white is scrambling to control the e4 square. We control the e4 square. It's ours as black. We're already winning here. Not winning, but we're ahead. We've been ahead, because my opponent doesn't know what he's doing here. I'm kidding. My opponent played some pretty typical moves. This is a setup that you're going to get with the Dutch defense a lot, especially if you disguise it the way that we're doing here, because you're not going to run into all this queen side pressure, king side pressure against the anti-duchess. So he plays f6, f6 immediately weakening. However, you have to know what to play here. If you don't know what to play here, it's completely equal and you just gave away your advantage. So if you're a Dutch player, go ahead and hit the pause button and figure out what the best move is. I'm going to give it to you right now. I found it in the game. It is knight h5. Knight h5, relieving him of the bishop. He retreats the bishop, but it's too late. I'm going to attack it. Now he's got two sets of stacked pawns, and at this point now, the computer has us quite ahead. We're up by 0.7. This should be good enough for a victory here, but let's see if we can go ahead and convert it. Bringing the queen out. I want pressure on this pawn. This pawn has to be defended. There's really only one or two good ways to do it. Three good ways to do it. He does it with the queen. And we're just going to play some normal stuff. Normal stuff. And with this pawn push here, I'm just trying to keep my eye on this pawn. That's all I'm trying to do. Keep an eye on the pawn. Maybe I can get the queen to draw forward. I can pull back and then get a little forky fork action going. But it doesn't go forward. He correctly takes here. And he's temporarily up a pawn. However, there are still some shenanigans that I can pull off here. So rook over, computer gives this as equal. He's got to take that pawn with the bishop. He does not. I retreat. Now he takes it with the bishop. And obviously you can see some of the trouble that he's in here. You know that white can come here and play bishop e6. Best move is to just go ahead and bring the king to g7. There's pressure on the queen here. Best move for white is to play queen over to d4. How many players are really going to see that? And what is that going to do? What, he's going to come here with me? No, he's not going to go there. So you can pause the video, find the best move here. As he comes over, this is absolutely terrible. I could take rook f1 first, but I go ahead and take, knowing that I have the check here, and rook comes down. Obviously, we can take first. Intermezzo. You guys, I'm not in check here. I'm not obliged, I'm not obligated, I'm not forced to take this rook back. I can take this pawn first with check. He could have brought the rook back, but he didn't. And I take here, and this is basically just winning for black now. So sliding it over. I want you to pause here. There's a really, really important sequence. There's a mating net that you need to see, and there's a way to then accomplish it if you see the mating net. I'm going to give you a hint in 3, 2, 1. The hint is that white's king cannot retreat to the g2 square because of the queen pressure if I put him in check. And if I put him in check with the rook, for example, the only thing he'll be able to do is block that check with the queen. So what's the move here? You can just do a rook bump, moves it over, take, 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 and then this is winning for black. And he resigns a few moves later. He goes in with some checks, he takes some pawns, and then I push the pawn, he sees that I'm in a queen, and it's game over. But not really intending to show tremendous middle game strategy or anything like that, or even ending. What I really just want you to get familiar with is what we're going to call the disguised Dutch, where we are absolutely not showing our opponent that we're intending to play the Dutch defense. As soon as they play d4, we're going to play this e6 first. A lot of times we're going to get this c4, we're going to be able to get this check right away, and about 50% of the time that we hit that check, we're going to see knight to c3, which we're going to take. We're going to stack his pawns right away, and then we're going to play our f5, and now we have our Dutch structure that we're familiar with. So hope you guys got a lot out of this one. Really just trying to encourage the Dutch players out there to play this disguised Dutch. Don't advertise it right away. And I hope you enjoyed that. And you should see, honestly, your winning percentages go up quite a bit. At least your winning percentages should go up about 10 to 15% in the Dutch defense now. because you're not going to be playing those anti-Dutch systems that are so strong against this, and hopefully you guys are going to enjoy that and really see some improvements in your game there. As always, smash the like and the subscribe. It is the best move. We're drinking whiskey. We're playing chess.